What is run and gun photography? Well, I'm glad you asked. What I've done here is I've poured myself just a touch of whiskey. We are going to define run and gun photography, talk about the techniques of this specific photography style, and maybe ask the question, is run and gun photography right for you? And hopefully we'll get to that answer before I get to the end of this drink. So how do we define run and gun photography? Well, this is a more dynamic style of photography, and capturing images typically involves being as efficient as possible, and more often than not, it's capturing images in some pretty challenging environments. So run and gun photography is really a mindset and how you interpret and see challenges in front of you. It really comes down to, in my opinion, talent over gear. Your talent, your skill set, your instinct is always going to be more important and more crucial to capturing that image than the gear or equipment that you're working with. The way you overcome challenges is really all about that run and gun photography mindset. And that all means that your instincts are going to get you past any sort of challenges to capturing that perfect image. Now, as many of you may already know, I am a former military photographer, and I had to embody both metaphorically and literally a run and gun mindset. And so that's where this brand came from, and why I call myself Run and Gun is because I have really personified that in my past photography experience that has really made me who I am today and what my brand is to this day. Now, before we get into the characteristics of run and gun photography and some little tips and tricks and techniques I have for you guys, I just want to say that run and gun photography isn't for everybody. If you're not about being very innovative and adaptable to anything that could come your way, then this style may be more trouble than it's worth, and that's fine. But if you're thinking, hey, I like this run and gun photography thing, tell me a little bit more about it, then keep watching. So what are some characteristics of a run and gun photographer? You might be asking yourself, am I a run and gun photographer? Well, the first thing that I have previously mentioned already is adaptability. How will you overcome any situation that you're given to get the shot completed no matter what? Every photo shoot has obstacles: time, budget, weather, environment, I can go on, but it's really about how you overcome those situations. You got to get the shot with what you got. Now, this leads right into my next characteristic of a run and gun photographer, and that is resourcefulness. Have you ever made a portrait with a flashlight and a plastic bag? Well, I've done a whole photo shoot like that, and it's actually a really good softbox technique. However, resourcefulness means coming up with ideas on the fly, coming up with gear and techniques on the fly. If, for example, I can't afford a large, heavy, expensive softbox, I need to come up with another way to soften light. For example, using that plastic grocery bag, using some bounce light, maybe off of a white ceiling, or even using a white bed sheet as a giant softbox that might cost you just a little bit less, and you might have it on hand versus paying for a softbox. That is resourcefulness. Now, the third and I think most important characteristic of a run and gun photographer is intuition. Not only do you have to have an impeccable sense of timing, you have to be able to see action and interpret the next action so that you are where you need to be to capture what is called the decisive moment, that peak action. You have to know when that's happening, where it's happening, how it's happening, so you are there and you are ready with your camera, ready to go to capture that peak moment. So like I said, it's all about timing. It's all about that gut, going with your gut, and years of experience to know what's going to happen next. So you are there ready to go to capture that moment when it happens. So when it comes to my own personal experience as a run and gun photographer, I did mention earlier that I am a former military photographer and I shot a lot for the US Air Force, captured some things for some other branches as well, but it was a great experience to really hone in my intuition, my resourcefulness, my mentality, and the way I go about thinking about run and gun photography and how I can adapt when put in any situation. Now, when it comes to the military, there can be things that are life and death, and that teaches you pretty darn quick to pay attention to your surroundings and interpret action before it's going to happen. Photographing aircraft was something I did all the time. I can typically predict that an aircraft is going to go down the runway, and on a good day, it's going to stay on that runway. So I can pre-position myself maybe at the far end of the runway, so I'm getting an awesome wide shot as the jet takes off over me. I can also think that I know the jet is going to take off, go over my head, and go behind me. So then what I'm going to do is spin around with my 70-200 lens, and I am going to capture it as it goes away. I know that that jet is going to be small in the distance, so I'm already prepared with another lens so I can get the most bang for my buck when it comes to this quick action. Like I said, chess. Be thinking multiple moves in advance, not only for the shot, potentially for your safety. Military missions could sometimes be life and death. For example, if I planned that wrong and I didn't know the takeoff distance of the jet, I wasn't being safe, I could get run over by the jet. I could get sucked into a jet intake. Not likely to happen, and I digress. However, that was a quick way for me to learn and build up that adaptability, resourcefulness, and intuition when literally it was a no-fail mission. So now that you know just a little bit more about run-and-gun photography and probably more about me, let's talk about this. Is run-and-gun photography for you? What kind of mindset are you in when you are out photographing? Are you about speed, efficiency, capturing that image no matter what? Now remember, run and gun is just a tool. It's a technique. It doesn't necessarily need to be used on every photo shoot. For example, if I'm in a studio and I have some nice lights set up, some strobes, my camera is on a tripod, that's not really a run and gun photo shoot. Run and gun wouldn't necessarily work for me in that situation. Just remember, it's a tool. You can't necessarily pound in a nail with a screwdriver. However, run and gun is a great technique to capture the raw essence of the moment, the natural moment that's happening around you, and typically it can be a very good technique for candid photo shoots, for example, lifestyle photo shoots, or just candid portraits. So that's how I define run and gun photography, and it looks like we finished this video at just the right time. If you enjoyed my little photo chat, please definitely subscribe down below. Leave me a comment. What do you think about run and gun photography? Is it something that you've ever attempted, or maybe you absolutely dislike it? Either way, if you learned something, please give this video a like, subscribe to my photography newsletter, and if you didn't know, I do photography coaching one-on-one, so feel free to contact me for that as well. And until next time, get out and go shoot.